I'm inside and I got issues.
Oh yeah, those are good because the original hits. Now there's none of that.
Today's issue is Snowman #1. Story, art, lettering design by Matt Martin. Story colors by Ryuji and Matt Martin. Cheeky cover and gallery colors Stefani Renee. Main cover colors Kyle Ritter. And creative assistants Arrow. Dedicated to Ethan Van Sciver and Trent Kanuga. As always, I'm going to be spoiling the entire thing, but also I'm going to be grading this on the salad scale. S for story, A for art, L for lettering, A for action, and D for drama. How does this book rank? This comic starts with Jim and Mick entering a burial ground, and Mick steals a necklace off a corpse. When they leave, Mick shows off the necklace, and Jim's like, yo, he can't be doing that. He's so offended that he slaps Mick. As Mick turns, he sees the eye of the snowman, which implies that the snowman gets him. Now we're following Rock and Tang. They're naked snowboarding. Isn't that cool? I've never been naked snowboarding. The snowman is watching them snowboard from the shadows. 20 minutes later, Tang is holding Rock's charm. Rock's like, don't drop it. There's beach sand in there. I use it for good luck, but I'm gonna give it to you because you clearly need some good luck. I don't need any good luck. As soon as they stop talking, Tang drops the good luck charm and is like, haha, that's funny, isn't it? Like, no! Why would you think that's funny? They do be arguing, and in between responses, Rock is like, talking to himself, blah, blah, blah. Tang is getting got by the snowman. He freezes him, solid. And then after freezing him, his head gets ripped off. And then Rock gets got by the snowman as well. The snow beast has killed 7 so far. How many more will the snow beast take? Now we're in Jed's pub in Silver Creek, Colorado. The blizzard is keeping everybody indoors, but honestly, everybody's scared about the snow beast out there killing a bunch of people. We meet a guy with an Outback hat whose name is Jack. There's this guy who's like, don't you know what they're gonna do to you, the snowman beast? I hear he terrorizes them. He also does some gruesome things that I don't remember in full detail, but I do remember them being very gruesome to the point where Jack gets very annoyed. And it's not just one-time gruesome shock value. No, it's like, oh, I'm gonna describe this gruesome thing and this gruesome thing and this gruesome thing in detail, all of it in detail, and just keep on going and going and going until Jack forces him to stop. Luckily though, there's a guy who stumbles into the bar with his head scalloped. Well, the scalloping part is not the lucky part. It's lucky for Jack because he doesn't have to hear that guy go on and on and on about the violence anymore. A bunch of guys in the bar be like, let's get 'em, boys, and they take out their shotguns. Jack's like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay here. All those boys, they be going outside and they confront the snow beast, but one by one, the snow beast just gets them. I like how the snow beast can turn his hands into an icicle and go. We learn that the snow beast is fast, it's been killing people for a week, and no blood whatsoever. Nothing can injure the snow beast, it doesn't draw blood. However, the people the snow beast kills, there's a lot of blood. It's just never the snow beast's blood. And then there's a really cool splash page of the snow beast, and I see him in his full glory, and he's making icicle fingers, and he's stabbing people through the chest with the icicle fingers or through the top of the head. It's pretty visceral. Jack decides, I'm gonna drive right through it. And he does. And it does nothing. Jack crashes into a snowy tree, and as he stumbles out, he's like, my wife wanted to move to Colorado. Get away from the people, she said. Get away from all of the traffic and all of the congestion, she said. Well, we didn't get away from a frickin' snow beast that was killing people, now did we, woman? If we stayed where we were, we wouldn't have to deal with this snow beast killing a bunch of people. And he's talking to himself while he stumbles out of the car and sees this gas station. On this same page, though, where he's coming out of the car, there's this fedora man, which I'm curious if this is like a flashback or something, or is this some sort of quick origin story? Let me just read this straight out of the book. The treaty was signed. The deal was made. But the greed and hate were just too much, and the killing started again. He showed no mercy, and it's showing with the snowman guy at the very bottom. I think it's supposed to represent that this is the fedora guy. He's now the snowman. I wish I knew more backstory on the fedora man. I wish it was a little bit more exploratory, more explanation for who this fedora guy is. It's obvious that this fedora guy is supposed to be the snowman in spirit, but I don't know how long it's been since the fedora man was in his human shape. How did he get to snowman form? It's not very clear. So Jack stumbles into the gas station. He goes to the gas station. He's like, gas station attendant. Oh my goodness, thank goodness you're here. Look out behind you, you gotta be worried. And she's like, worried for what? You know, she's just checking out because she's just standing there, getting paid nothing. What is she supposed to do? Worry about the potential danger outside? She's checked out. But luckily somebody pulls up to the gas station, tries to pump some gas, and Jack, oh my goodness, I can't believe he did this because the woman put her credit card information in, and he takes the gas thing and sprays it at the snowman, and then the lady takes the cigarette lighter inside her car, turns it on, and throws it right at the snowman, and the snowman just goes in flames. And I'm just thinking, but did that lady need gas? You just made her pay for extra gas. Oh no! The gas prices. What are the gas prices like? The woman's like, come in, Jack, come here. And so Jack goes into the car. And she's vrooming very fast down this very snowy road. I would go very slow, but she's not. Also, she's not dressed in anything. She has virtually no clothing on. It's not very explained why she has no clothing. This woman's name is Gwen Falia, and Jack's like, oh, you must be from the Czech Republic. And she's like, yes, how did you know? Well, my last name is also Czech Republic. They have a bit of a conversation when she goes into a snowbank, and I'm like, you should have slowed down. Even Jack hit a tree in this weather. You think you can do the same, woman? No, you hit a snowbank. Why did you do this to yourself? Now you have to step outside the car and your barely anything outfit. You have to ask Jack for his shirt because you're wearing absolutely nothing. And it's not explained why. Why? Is she some sort of like tribal person or something? Some sort of like magical being? It could be literally any explanation, but she doesn't give one. She doesn't tell me why she's not wearing anything. They gotta go head to Frank's place, and as they head to Frank's place, they have a bit of a chat. She's a dancer, she's an American dancer, but she's not an escort or a hooker or a stripper. No, she's a dancer. And they reach Frank's place, and guess what? Frank is frozen. And Jack's like, this is very peculiar. This is crazy, right? And while she's screaming his name, he's like, this is strange. Not looking at her at all until when he finally looks at her, she's frozen. She's completely frozen and the snowman is there, and that's how this issue ends. I like to think that this is a comic focusing on the snowman. And we got a bunch of people, victims to the snowmanning stuff. Obviously, Jack is the protagonist. And I honestly thought that she was going to be there the entire time. And then she gets frozen. So I'm like, okay, so sexy lady girl doesn't get any special treatment because she's designed sexily. So it makes me think she's going to be a main character of sort. But she's frozen at the end. And Jack, I guess he's kind of designed in a different way than the other people. But he's not like too much of a different design than the other bar goers. He just has a hat that says Outback. And he's not frozen. Why is this woman in no clothing? That's enough about the story though. Now it's time for art. I like the art done for the humans. I like the face detail. Especially when it comes to the close-up shots. That's when the humans are best drawn. Whenever the humans are drawn far away, it's a lot less detail. And also the side characters, they have a lot less detail than the main characters. I like the dramatic shots for Snowman, especially the splash pages of Snowman. I think they're pretty good. What is Snowman's anatomy, though? It's kind of hard to tell with how it's drawn. I don't know what his anatomy is supposed to be. Is he supposed to be some sort of muscular, veiny guy? Or just snow that looks like that? I'm not exactly sure. It's hard to tell, but I'm gonna let it pass because he's Snow. He can probably just shapeshift a bunch. He can turn into a bunch of different shapes. Sometimes the panels are hard to read. Placement of the panels are very strange sometimes. It's not often though, but some of the values are not strong enough in contrast for me to understand what's going on implicitly when I first glance at it. I have to really study it and being like, okay, so who are the figures here and what am I looking at? I like the composition of the shots. I just feel like the coloring makes it less standouty. There's not enough depth added to the colors, and that's just a values thing. I do like the colors chosen throughout, except for the bar. I don't like the bar colors, but luckily that's not really much of the book. I do like the colors of the outside world, especially when you have the fire on top of the ice. I think that looks really cool. A lot of the art I do like, but there are some arts that I'm like, I don't like this as much as the other pieces of art in this comic book. There's a lot of detail in some of the shots, but less detail in other shots, and I feel that's a bit inconsistent. The anatomy is a bit inconsistent as well, but mostly on the background characters. When it comes to the main characters, the anatomy is pretty solid, but I really don't like the background characters. I feel like they're just added there to be added there to be killed off. I obviously know they're going to be killed off because of the lack of detail on their faces or in their body, or their outfits are pretty generic, or their anatomy is not the most correct. Overall, there's pretty strong designs for the sexy lady and an okay design for Jack, but all the other designs, except for the snowboarder guys, those designs are pretty cool. I like them a lot. But everybody else, I just don't care about their designs, and they don't really stand out in my mind. So they're not very distinct from each other. Lettering. There is decent automatopoeia. I just wish there were more and bigger automatopoeia. I overall like the placement of the bubbles. There are some points where the paneling makes it so that the bubbles placement is confusing to read. Like there's this one panel where it's just, you have to go all the way down vertical, but also there's panels on the top and bottom on the very right side. And it's like, okay, so I'm supposed to go all the way down and then up. But my brain wants to go from left to right to left to right to left to right or whatever, instead of going up to down to up to down. Most panels, the letters were placed pretty easily to read, but there are still some panels that are just hard to read the text bubbles because of the placement of the text bubbles relative to the paneling. I just think overall it's a paneling issue. If there's better panel composition, the bubbles would be easier to read. The yellow text bubbles have a poetic narration to them, explaining, I'm not exactly sure if it's from the perspective of the snowman. Whose perspective is it? I just feel like it's quite unnecessary sometimes. Here's an example. Some men die leaving trails of riches, trails of memories, trails of tears. Jimmy McDougal will leave only a trail of blood. And it's the emphasis on the one character. He wasn't at all built up, so why would I care about this character? And it's only this one guy that's emphasized. If you're gonna have something like that, then I feel like you should just have all of the characters die that brutally with a very poeticness. The other characters don't die with that poeticness to them. Why should I care about Jimmy? The yellow text bubbles very specifically focus on Jimmy, but nobody else, but also Jimmy wasn't very established at all. So why am I focusing on Jimmy? It establishes a sort of lore to the Snowman character, a sort of ethos, a mythicness to him, but I feel like the placement of them and the focus on a very specific guy who wasn't like at all built up, it just feels weird, and there could have been something else placed there. There is good text emphasis on the dialogue, different boldness signifying an emphasis on specific words within a dialogue bubble. There's also different font styles, which I like. Overall, easy to read bubbles, but the panel placement makes reading the text bubbles hard to do sometimes. Action. There's a lot of Snowman killing people. That's pretty much the action. Drama. Snowman is terrorizing a bunch of people. Everybody who the Snowman encounters will die, but very specifically, Jack is trying to get away from the Snowman, and he's kind of successful. He's able to light the Snowman on fire. That doesn't kill the Snowman, obviously, but it melts his face a little bit. And then he meets this lady who gets frozen, and Jack is alone to deal with the Snowman in issue 2. So, what does this book get on the salad scale? Story. I think the story's alright. It's mainly focused on the Snowman, which I like. It's focused on the monster. If you're going to establish humans at all, I think there should have been a better job done to making me care about the humans before you kill them off. I like the first 2 pairs of people to die because it just goes to show that Snowman's going around killing a bunch of people, but then the bar shows Jack. And I wish I knew a little bit more about Jack. And then the text just focuses on Jimmy, who I'm not introduced to. Why would I care about Jimmy whatsoever? He's mentioned in passing maybe once, but his character isn't fleshed out at all. I wish I knew him before he was so focused on in 2 pages in this book before he dies. You could have established some sort of buddy-buddy to Jack, that Jimmy is such a good pal to Jack. And then Jack could stand in the doorway just looking at Jimmy get stabbed, and that would have had more of an emotional impact, but also would make sense for the yellow text bubbles to be there doing a poetry thing on Jimmy. But instead, it doesn't show Jack leave the bar at all. It shows him staying inside the bar, and then a bunch of people get killed, and then it shows Jack inside his car. I wish it showed Jack leaving the bar, sneaking away, seeing his friend get killed by the Snowman, his friend Jimmy, and then he goes into his car in a panic or something. But no, it doesn't really do that. It just kind of jumps from him inside the bar to him in his car and him driving through the Snowman. If there was a more emotional impact established, I would have liked the story more. Otherwise, I just feel like it's just a setup for the monster Snowman, and I don't really care about the humans. If that's the intention, then that's alright by me. Otherwise, it's whatever, I guess. And so I had to give this, it's a 3.5 out of 5. Art. The art's okay. There's a lot of detail in some places, which I really like. And then other places, there's not as much detail. Clearly not as much time put into these places, not as much dedication to making it correct. It just feels like, oh, it's just drawn like this. And I'm like, bro, the head is the same length as the shoulders. You need to have 2 heads for the shoulders. And a lot of the background characters, the anatomy is wrong in that regard. The shoulders are not wide enough. I'd say the detail is a bit inconsistent. I really do like the splash pages though. The coloring overall is solid except for the bar. And so I'd have to give the art, it's a 3.5. Lettering. I like the onomatopoeia. I wish there was more onomatopoeia. I also wish that some of the placement of the text bubbles were better, but overall it's a pretty easy to read comic book. The dialogue feels like different people, which I like. I like that the people feel different and they speak differently, which is cool. Although there isn't much of a huge drastic difference between the way in which people speak in this book. There's not a person doing a very dramatically, very obvious Southern twang or a very obvious British accent or something. I mean, they all are from the same area, but there's not a slight variation in the way they speak. But it also doesn't feel clunky in how they speak to each other. All I'm saying is that the characters, they don't have a very specific thing that makes their dialogue different from the other characters. It's just readable. And so I'd have to give the lettering, it's a 3.5. Action. I like all those people dying. It's fun to watch. I like the tension buildup. I do think that when the snowman strikes, it's done in a good timing. It's a good paced book for the action. The action happens and I like it. I like seeing all those people die. I like seeing all the visceral gore going on, but it's not too gory and it's not too disgusting. I also like the way that the snowman does his weapon stuff. It's pretty fun. I'd say most of this book is action with people talking in between about the snowman, but also setups to those people dying, which is all right with me. I'd have to give the action, it's a 4. Drama. You know what? It's a pretty solid drama. You got a snowman guy, he's killing a bunch of people, and you got a bunch of people talking about it. You got people being like, what are we gonna do? And of course, humans being humans, they be freaking out, crashing their cars into snowbanks and trees. And then they have to deal with the consequences, and you don't know if the snowman's gonna be around the corner at any moment. He could be there, he could be there, he could be anywhere. And that tension, that underlying tension, makes for good drama. And so I'd have to give the drama, it's a 4. So, what does this book get on the salad scale? It gets an 18.5 out of 25, and this has been Mince Got Issues.